In this video, I want to address something that someone brought up the other day that's really heartbreaking. And what they said is that they have a parent, they have their mother, who they identified to be what the world calls narcissistic. And I could hear in their message that they really wanted to honor their mother, to continue to stick it out with her, and to do the right thing. And the thing that we need to be asking ourselves is, do the right thing by who? By who? By God or by another person? Because if we do the right thing by God, He's going to direct us to do the right thing by that other person, but it may not be what we thought it was going to be. One of the things that this person said is that they'll spend time with their mother, and then it takes them a few days to, like, they kind of, they didn't say these words, but I know what this is all about. When I used to be around, my father came back into my life after 6 years of estrangement, and it would take me a few days to get back to, I don't even want to say sanity, just to get back to like feeling okay, because I would really disappear, like shut down. There was like a default in me because of the way I had been trained to be with him in all of that abuse, where I would shut down in order for him to be everything, because he was the only one that mattered. And, you know, we might have been trained to do that as children if we grew up in an abusive situation. But when we're adults, that's called idolatry, and we're held accountable for it. What the world calls narcissism is undoubtedly the character of the devil in a person who does not do their own work. Now, I don't know this person's parent, so I can't really say, but I'm going based on what they're telling me. If they're shutting down and I'm recognizing that this is a sign of what happens to people who have an abusive parent, then that's probably what's going on. And I want to tell you a story. When I was very sick, probably the latter 2 years of my illness, which, by the way, was not physical illness. It was being manifest as physical illness. It was deep and insidious spiritual illness. And I was nasty. I could be really nasty and vile and not even really understand the abusiveness that I was putting out onto people I love. I was devastating my own daughter. And we had a situation happen, an argument that really exploded. And there was distance between me and my daughter and my son-in-law for, I think, a couple months. And I don't go without them for a day. I don't go without talking to them for a day. But at that time, we went a couple months. I was still in communication with my daughter, but we really weren't seeing each other. There wasn't peace in the relationship. There was so much pain. I mean, that is the worst pain I've ever felt. And it was so necessary. It was so necessary for me to get my act together, to pray, to examine myself. And it was also necessary for them, because there were some things that we had been doing. My daughter had been taking care of my emotional needs, and I'd been taking care of her financial needs, and it wasn't working for us because we're not intended to do that. We are not designed to do that. But it was incredibly painful, and what God was doing is He was shaking things up so that they would be different. And when we came back together, my daughter and I, when we came back together, we prayed that God would be there in our relationship, that He would help us to communicate with one another what we had discovered. And she said to me, I think that because of the way that I saw the family treat you, that I just felt bad for you, and I started shutting down my own feelings in order to take care of you. Dang it. It hurts me to even say that now. And it hurts me because I know what that's like, to be a child trying to take care of a parent who can never be satisfied because you can't take care of somebody else's needs that they're supposed to be taking care of themselves. And to do so is idolatry. And I had been feeling disrespected and all of the story that I told myself because I was providing things that she could provide for herself, and that it was important for her to provide. I remember her telling me like something she got at the dollar store. It was like a new trash can. She was so excited about this trash can. And me, in my sick, spiritual sickness, thought, you can do better, but I can give you better than a trash can at the dollar store. She was excited about it. And I remember when I was young and, was raising a child on my own and trying to make $20 a week stretch, that I was excited about buying stuff from the dollar store because it was something that I bought. And I had been working out all of my fears about not having anyone to take care of me, working that out through her. And it wasn't working for us. It was extremely damaging. And I was feeling resentful. Well, there's nothing like having someone take care of you and feeling resentful over it. It was very dysfunctional what we had going on. And thankfully, there's so much love in our relationship. Both of us love each other so, so much. And both of us love God. And we were able to come back and pray and really hear each other. The reason I'm telling you that story is because your parents need to be held accountable too, just like you need to be held accountable, or you don't grow. There's a reason why God in the Word tells us that if someone sins against you, rebuke them. And if they're unrepentant, you need to dust your feet. Honoring your parents does not mean that you continue to allow the devil, through someone who does not do their work, beat you down. That does not serve the kingdom of heaven. There came a point in my relationship with my father where I really had to separate myself. I could not continue to do that and be able to be there for my own family, my own child that I was raising, because here I'm spiraling. And my dad was like texting me till at 3:00 in the morning, I'm getting text messages on my phone and just crazy, crazy stuff was going on. And so I finally said, okay, Dad, let's move to email. You can email me, but this text message stuff is a little too much. And then he couldn't contain himself. He was saying weird stuff in email. By that time, he was really, really messed up. And I'm going to tell you that it wasn't probably a few weeks until he killed himself. And I used to cry my way to work and just say it over and over. I'm sorry, Daddy, I'm sorry. But that decision was necessary. So I'm sharing that with you because it's a very extreme example of what happened, what could happen. But you know what? I couldn't save my dad's life. I spent years taking care of him emotionally. And if that was what he wanted to do, if that's what he was going to do, that's what he was going to do. I did everything that I possibly could, but I could not live in the bondage of someone threatening to kill themselves and manipulating me to stay in that bondage. And so if you're going through this situation, I hope that you can understand from my example, you cannot save your parent. You cannot save someone who's doing these things to you. And I understand they don't know that they're doing these things, or maybe they don't realize it or whatever. Well, then you need to take that up with God. How do you need to speak to them? You know what you can do for someone like that is you can be honest, you can fast, you can pray, and you can receive from God how to speak with them. But you are not sovereign over their life. God is sovereign over their life. And you need to heal in order to be used for the kingdom of heaven. And you cannot heal if you keep being abused, if you keep showing up to be abused. How do you honor your parent? You love them, but you love God first. You respect them, but you respect God first. And so if you love God first and you respect God first, then you won't stand in the place of idol. You won't coddle your parent or whoever it is, your child, because if God is sending consequences in a person's life, he's doing something. I think the best thing that my daughter did for me when I was sick is that she prayed relentlessly. I know that she prayed relentlessly, and I know that God listened to her prayers. This was a very vulnerable video, and I did not expect to share that much information, but I did feel led by the Holy Spirit. I feel like that was important for you to know. And so I know that He will speak through this video. I hope this helps someone who's going through a similar situation. Thank you for listening.